as usual, every time there is a patch, even a secret patch like 10.2.6, what comes after is possibly the balance tuning that follows. And what is happening, of course, is that as 10.2.6 is being released, we're also starting to get the patch notes for Season 4. Season 4 is about to enter the PTR. We are starting to get the data mining of many different things. We have the, of course, the tuning to the dungeons of the dungeon pool of Season 4. We have tuning to the trinkets, the weapons, the available gear from Season 4, some news like the dinar coming back, etc, etc. But what we have to stop first is, of course, on the balance tuning train. So the first in line, of course, is the one that is receiving the most changes, which is Holy Priest. Pretty much every other one is simply getting some slight adjusting to the values of their tier sets, the one that they have chosen after voting for their tier set in Season 4. But Holy Priest does not. Holy Priest gets all of this. But why does Holy Priest get all of this? In case you were not really following what, healers are doing in the season, Holy Priest is apparently getting all of this because, even just by going at the actual results, Holy Priest is currently the worst performing out of all of the healers. It's not really gotten better since the patch that nerfed Mistweaver, nerfed Discipline, and even buffed Holy Priest a couple of times. It's been, multiple months now into 10.2.5, and Holy Priest is still bad. We can go over in different ratings. For Mythic Plus, for example, Holy Priest is still low down. We'll switch over to Mythic rating in terms of not popularity, which continues to be very popular, but in terms of throughput, and Holy Priest is the worst one. We can go back over here. Even the damage of Holy Priest in Mythic Plus is amongst the worst ones. So Blizzard sends out a sneaky mini rework for the last patch of the expansion. Now, what's interesting is, of course, that perhaps many of these things might be tied to synergize with the hero talents of the War Within that we don't really have for Priest. And you might be saying, I seem to remember Blizzard adding some abomination around Power Infusion. Well, this is already announced that it's going to be scrapped. It's going to be completely changed and not play around PI at all. So basically, at this point, we have one of the classes with only basically no hero talents available to check. So we can't actually tell how much of this will end up synergizing with the future of the spec. What is funny is that at first glance, only from the notions that you can see here, this is just a list, a very long list of nerfs. Okay, even just starting from the first one, which is all healing reduced by 7%, but even everything else that you keep reading, it's it's just a making the entire talent tree worse. So you start wondering what is, what's the logic behind the change. You start on a slightly good note where Imperial Blaze now is no longer a 1-minute cooldown, which makes your next 3 Holy Fire cost no mana, incur in no cooldown, and be cast instantly. Instead now, this is only 2 charges, but they are tied to Justice, which means now you can reduce the cooldown of Justice, which is a 1-minute cooldown, as opposed to being always stuck with a 1-minute cooldown of Imperial Blaze. So that's slightly good, but then again, you don't have many ways to reduce this cooldown. You would have to spam cast Smite. It's not very handy to do so. So it's still not a very good change by itself. Then you keep going down, like Pontifex as well as Lightwell, all being redesigned. These are the left side of the tree, which is never taken by a Holy Priest, even as you read the changes. Pontifex now has Flash Heal, Prayer of Healing, and Circle of Healing. Increase the healing done of your next Holy Word by 6%, stacking up 5 times. The older one was 20% stacking up twice. So this one stacks up to 40% more healing. This one stacks up to 30% more healing, which is a nerf. Except now you can also use Prayer of Healing and Circle of Healing to make it stack, but it's still, it feels like a terrible change. Even Lightwell seems awful. Lightwell, which is never taken, remains the same ability with the same 2-minute cooldown and the same 15 charges. Now, instead of applying a random, unnamed heal over time, it applies a renew over time for about 50% more healing than the older version, but that's definitely not enough to make it good. You have changes like Resonant Words now cause Holy Wars to increase the healing done of your next Flash Heal, Prayer of Healing, or Circle of Healing by 20 to 40%. when previously it was 25 to 50%, so it's being nerfed. And you're like, oh, what is going on? Why are all these nerfs? Things don't get better because you have, for example, the changes to Divine Ward, and that's where you get really confused. Divine Ward now increases the effectiveness of your next Holy Ward by 30% instead of 50%. On top of that, every single one of the effects of Divine Ward is being changed and nerfed. The damage dealt with the Justice Divine Ward is 20%. Previously, the buff of Divine Ward with Justice was 30% more damage and a 40% chance to apply Holy Fire. If you were using the Sanctify buff of Divine Ward, now you are healing one less target than before. And if you're using the Serenity Divine Ward, now you no longer get the increased critical strike chance for your spells. You also have other insulting changes like Prayerful Litany now heals for 100% more instead of 30%. You're like, I don't play Holy Priest, I wonder what that is. You know, Prayerful Litany is something that increases Prayer of Healing's heal to the lowest HP target. There is a problem. The base healing of Prayer of Healing is 80% spell power. If you're not used to reading spell powers on the tooltips, 80% is half a renew. So this buff makes this 100% stronger than half a renew. So it makes it like a renew. And that's a talent point for Holy, right? So all of this is absolute garbage. The only other glass half full part is the final part of what we read over here when it came to damage, which is that now the Harmonious Apparatus buff, now for some reason renamed to Voice of Harmony, now causes Holy Nova to reduce the cooldown of Justice in addition to Holy Fire. So you get more CDR to cast Justice, so you get to buff your Holy Fire abilities, right? That's the only other positive one. Then the rest is Horizon gets a connection to Pontifex and Divine Service as a connection to say your prayers, meaning that these two get connected. Irrelevant, because when you go down here, you always want this, and you don't go down here, so it doesn't matter. When everything completely changes, though, after you kept reading this and you only read about nerfs, especially to the healing, the damage was even a buff, but the healing was a disaster. Terrible. So you wonder, what the hell does Blizzard have in mind? Especially given that we don't know, because we don't have the hero talent trees for Priest. Where things start changing is where you read the 3 final rows of Priest have been reorganized. Now, to put this as a comparison, what this creates, besides what we already read from the notes, which is the new connections right here, the fact that these 2 terrible, never taken talents are being removed. What goes in their place is Miracle Worker. Miracle Worker is arguably the strongest talent possibly in the entire tree of Holy Priest, which is the one that gives you an extra charge to your Holy Words, Serenity and Sanctify. Now, instead of being as a choice node with your free battle rest on yourself, now it's here. Now it's available very easily without a choice node. Harmonious Apparatus is still around here, it just changed icon for whatever reason, and Light of the Naru has now switched over to this side, but it is still easily reachable after Salvation, so it's not really a loss to have Desperate Times moved over here, because you would have taken that anyways. What makes it even stronger is, of course, the combination of these 2 talents right here. As you can see, they are both being taken now. That's because when Miracle Worker goes right here, you have the switch where Divine Image is now a lone talent, and Divine Ward gets paired with Restitution, your free combat rest thingy. This means that now you can take both Divine Ward and Divine Image. You don't have to choose anymore, as well as, of course, being able to take Miracle Worker. That is perhaps why you had to have seen so many changes tied around nerfing this talent itself and buffing some other synergy between your spenders, your Holy Words, and your normal abilities, because now you can use your Divine Image to empower your spenders while at the same time still having Divine Ward active, while at the same time still being able to make Divine Image work very well because you have 2 charges of your spenders at the same time. You haven't really lost many of the powerful connections you had before, like Answered Prayers, as simply swapped all the way over below Salvation, which is still fine because you would have normally been able to reach this anyways. So now you have a much more powerful combination of talents at the very end. This also spikes up the stocks of the Holy Priest damage, especially in Mythic class, because now you can take Divine Word with Divine Image together, which means every minute you can empower your Justice, even after it has been slightly nerfed over here. Casting Holy Word Justice with Divine Word active now increases the damage dealt by 20% and refunds 15 seconds from the cooldown of Holy Word Justice. Now this one can go reliably down to a 45-second cooldown every single time you have Divine Image. Don't forget, now you gain even more value from Apotheosis instead of Salvation in Mythic class, because now Apotheosis increases the cooldown reduction to your Holy Wars by 300%. Which means that now, being able to use Divine Word to reduce the cooldown of Justice by 15 seconds inside of Apotheosis, so inside, for example, of a proc of Answered Prayers, that 15-second cooldown reduction is buffed by 300% more, which basically brings it back off cooldown almost instantly. So you can chain the empowered Holy Fires, the instant Holy Fires more often, way more often in Mythic Plus. This is significantly increasing your Mythic Plus damage as an AoE part of your rotation. As we see now, Holy Priest is doing terrible damage in Mythic Plus. With these changes, they are primed to be doing significantly more damage in Mythic Plus when playing with all of these talents, which are talents your run-of-the-mill Holy Priest was taking already in Mythic Plus. You were going down this route to do more damage with your Holy Fires. You were going to take Apotheosis in Mythic Plus. You weren't going to take both of these together because you couldn't, but now you can. So you will be able to do it. So that is why we have been seeing so far all of these talent changes being mostly nerfs in this set of tuning for Holy. So this is just a disclaimer for everyone who perhaps already plays Holy Priest and goes, to just skim through the talent changes of the next season and wonders why most of these feel or read like they are complete nerfs. They are actually not. They are essentially having to compensate. They even had the worry of it being so strong. They had to flat out nerf the entire healing by 7%. Because of what could possibly happen if you give Holy Priest both Divine Word plus Divine Image plus the rest of the toolkit they already had available. So this was the specification around the balance tuning that we have been seeing for Holy Priest coming up in the next season, which is, as we pointed out, a warranted set of tuning, given that the state of Holy Priest right now is the worst healer in the game. If we have to make an average of the raid plus Mythic Plus damage, then the net worst would be Holy Priest, and then right after Holy Paladin. So it is a welcome addition, and it's very exciting to see the possible changes coming for Holy Priest, but I guess we will have to wait a few more weeks until Season 4 actually launches, but I guess we will be able to test this soon on the PTR. So for today, with this pointer about the Holy Priest changes, we can now say goodbye to the rest of this midweek, soon to reset day. Starting the goodbyes, of course, by thanking all of the Patreon supporters for the contribution and the help to the growth of the channel, as well as everyone who's doing it for free, like liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Now, with these things out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, oh my god, I hate it when I want to go to sleep and then I spend 3 hours in my bed doing nothing. The entire day's schedule screwed.